This year, Ireland will celebrate the centenary of the 1916 revolution, which was a great day when the details don't matter. We're friends with the Queen. Do you know that? We're great friends with the Queen. Look at her there in her green dress. And we're friends with David Cameron as well. Isn't that all that matters, isn't it? And the Germans love us. Germans are mad about us. So come celebrate 1916 with us and don't mention the Ra or Sinn Féin or anything like that.
Georgia Salpa.
Huh?
Man, she's gorgeous. She's like a hot Arab.
Nah. Man, she looks like a baby goat.
What?
The further away from Georgia Salpa you go, the more she looks like a goat. Girl, lovely girl. Oh, what a goat, baby goat. Glamorous hair, lip gloss, but a baby goat nonetheless, yeah?
The bulb off a baby goat.
Gonna put that down in the pile, because I have a very special surprise for you. I am after Rocho's. And so it is. The colder water, the blower's daughter. Benedict, what is that noise?
That's not me. Is that
It's
you?
not me, I know phone. I'm starting to get upset. Is there a phone under the pile? There's a phone under the pile. Answer the phone under the pile.
Hello? Yeah. Okay. Love you.
Who was that?
Michael D. Higgins.
The principal of
The
Ireland?
President of Ireland.
What did he want?
He wants us to do the official 1916 centenary documentary for the national broadcaster.
Man, you don't know anything about history.
I know everything about Irish history. I know loads.
You know nothing about Irish history.
I know loads.
Prove it.
Yeah, we're going to give you a lesson now in Irish history. For over 300 years, the British Army have oppressed the Irish people. It all started with the Great Potato Famine of 1916. The English took our food. When we were too starving and too weak to fight, they stole the 7 counties and Ulster. So Eamon de Valera rode to London on the back of a horse to punch the Queen into the jaw as a symbol. And she locked him in jail for 100 years, and he smeared his own shit on the wall and starved to death. Around the field with dog shit on the end of a golf club, I swear to God. And to all the patriots that have died before in the Irish wars, I know you're up in heaven's small joint with Tupac and Bob Marley, chalk it down, yeah. Okay, I got a list here of every single member of the IRA. Flash this one out in your car. Matthew Whelan, he's in the white. Mick Jagger, he's in the white. Robert De Niro, he's in the white. Bart Simpson, he's in the white. Ian Paisley, he's in the white. Niall Horan, he's in the white. Winona Ryder, he's in the white. Kim Jong-un, he's in the white. Bertie Ahern, he's in the white. Cocker Spaniel, he's in the white. And Adele King, he's in the white.
Whoa! That was the most offensive, disrespectful assessment of our 800 years of history with the Huns.
Well, you don't know anything about Irish history either.
Maybe not. But at least I know that Paddy the Englishman, Paddy the Irishman, and Paddy Scotsman weren't real boys. It's the education system, man. They let us down. We tried our best. Do you remember our teacher? Punky Madden? Yeah. He used to drink turpentine and eat cornflakes out of a truck or a box.
We were always good boys in school, but the education system failed us, as this flashback is sure to prove.
To take Irish freedom for themselves. At 11:30 in the morning, when the rebels mustered at their face in Liberty Hall, they marched to Liberty Hall, down City Street, onto O'Connell Street. Of course, it wasn't known as O'Connell Street.
Why?
It was
Yeah? Do you want to go small fags in the Jags?
Yeah.
Bastards! Look, you've got to help me, all right?
Why?
Because you've got connections.
What's in it for me?
Look, Michael D. Higgins said if I do a good job, that he'll set me up with Georgia Salpa and you can watch.
Fuck it, I've nothing else to do.
So you're gonna do it? You're gonna introduce me to the lads?
Oh.
The lads, the smartest lads that you know.
Oh, them. Give me more of that long bread.
There's a difference between a dead arm and a dead leg, Jace.
I know there's a difference, there's an important difference. You can't give a man a dead arm before 6 o'clock in the morning.
All right, boys. This is Mr. James Joyce,
Yeah.
Mr. Samuel Beckett, and Mr. Oscar Wilde. This is my friend. He wants to know all about Irish history, and I figure you guys are the fellas to ask.
You're not ready for Irish history.
No way.
No, no.
Can you give us just a small hand? Just anything to get us going, please.
Yeah?
Yeah, go on. Yeah.
All right. We've had a chat with each other. We'll help you with Irish history if you get a big tattoo upon your back of Eamon de Valera.
Me? Nah, man, I don't even like David Valera's music.
Go
No way,
on.
I'm not getting
Go
no
on.
tattoo.
He will. He's gonna. Man, please, charge yourself. All right, you can watch.
Go on.
Remember? Yeah, he's gonna get that tattoo.
All right, here you go.
Oh, boys, honestly, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Fuck's sake.
The lads gave me a wealth of educational material about the history of Ireland. We were settled nearly 9,000 years ago, and loads of stuff happened since. If you want to find out more, please go to Yahoo Answers, while I will outline the finer points now. In order to understand Irish Revolution, we must first appreciate our long history of fighting off the invader in field.
Today's contestants will be competing in the Battle of Clontarf, the Siege of Drogheda, the Battle of the Boyne,
And Vinegar Hill. Battle of Clontarf, 1014. Brian Boru versus the Vikings.
Where are they fight?
Well, the Vikings have been raiding Ireland for about 200 years, and the winner of this battle becomes the High King of Ireland.
So who wins?
Brian Boru won, but then they assassinated him. So technically we had a united Ireland for about a half an hour.
Who are these turkeys?
1649, the big bollocks Oliver Cromwell versus the Irish Catholic Confederation, who are defending the walls of Drogheda, represented here by an industrial palace.
Come on, you boys. I'll have both of you.
So who won?
Cromwell, of course, he raped and pillaged every Irish person that he saw.
I'd have bent him over my knee.
1690, the Battle of the Boyne. The Protestants won. It's the reason the Orange Men dress up as air hostesses on the 12th of July. 1798, the Battle of Vinegar Hill. Wolfe Tone and the United Irishmen with pikes and picks versus 15,000 British soldiers with cannons and guns.
Why?
Inspired by the French Revolution, this is the first proper battle for independence. This is the birth of Irish republicanism right here in Belfast.
Here. Does Brian Boru have Oliver Cromwell in a headlock?
He fucking does.
Go on, Brian Boru. In 10. Go on, back to him. Look, that Wolfe Tone is kicking Cromwell in the back.
No.
We're going to have to jump in for Cromwell. We're not jumping in for Cromwell. He's a bastard.
If Cromwell goes down, there's no 1916 and there's no documentary. We have to jump in for Cromwell.
Show me how you feel. More than words is all you have to do to make it real. Then you wouldn't have to say.
In the interest of historical accuracy, we let Cromwell win. But don't worry, his own people soon hated him so much that they dug up his dead body and posthumously hung him. By the 1800s, we'd no Gaelic aristocracy, we'd been decimated by the penal laws, and we were under the complete control of the Protestant ascendancy. Sickened. Oh, but it gets worse.
My friend Dorothy Matthews says that the famine wasn't famine, it was genocide.
Well, the one man who was in charge of famine relief was called Charles Trevelyan, and he said, and I quote, "The famine is an effective mechanism for reducing population and is also a judgment of God."
You are so boring.
The Irish potato famine of the 1840s resulted in the loss of half the population. Technically caused by a disease to the potato crop, it was more realistically caused by very uncaring British economic policies. During the famine, the native Irish population were dirt poor, and they used to live in hovels like that.
Why didn't they do up their houses?
Because that would have meant an increase in rent.
Give me the rent.
The poor people were starving. Why didn't
Yeah.
they go do a bit of hunting?
How can you hunt on land that's owned by the British?
All right, well, fair enough, but they could have gone out and done a small bit of fishing.
No, you prick. You can't fish in a British river either. During one of our many famines, the great Irish satirist Jonathan Swift took the piss out of the ruling class's attitude by suggesting they eat the children of the poor.
I have been assured that a young, healthy child, well nursed, is at a year old the most delicious, nourishing, and wholesome food.
Fair balls, Johnny, fair balls. One phrase which still exists from the time of the famine is the term taking the soup, which loosely translates to traitor.
It's been said that soup kitchens were set up by Protestants to hand out soup to starving Catholics if they converted.
So we've come to the Irish Financial Services Centre, where we as a nation have taken the soup by allowing large multinational corporations to launder their money here. Masquerading as a soup stall run by two South Dublin hipsters, we cooked up a batch of Protestant soup from a recipe actually used to convert Catholics. Before long, we had a queue full of people.
You can tell that it's not overly burdensome with additives.
I think it's good, kind of wholesome, good mix of meat.
How's the soup, sir? How's the soup? You converted?
You converted now?
Good
yeah,
man yourself.
Nice Englishman yourself now taking that soup.
I'm a Limerick man now.
Good man.
Oh, not anymore,
no,
buddy,
not anymore.
anymore.
You're from Buckingham Palace now, sir. Turncoats. Traitors. Oh, I didn't realise we were in the presence of royalty.
Oh, we are. Want some black soup from Maggie's Nipples? It comes with a side of coal miner. Do you think your pants are going to fall down because they're weighed down with the Queen's shilling?
Oliver Cromwell.
You like that,
here
Mr.
he
Cromwell?
is.
Isn't that nice soup, isn't
Oliver
it?
Cromwell.
Good soup.
How'd you like our friend, lads? He's taking that Protestant soup. We've got some napkins made from the proclamation that you can wipe your dirty mouth with. Leave them off. They're only Americans and German girls, you know what I mean? Like, that's all, like. You're a bit harsh on them, man. Do you know what I mean? Like, although the Germans, in fairness, do you know? Sure, they own all the place now. The famine and half-arse British reaction to it spurred on a new generation of freedom fighters. Peaceful ones like Charles Stewart Parnell and Isaac Butt. And the true ancestors of the 1916 volunteers. Mad bastards like O'Donovan Rossa. Look at his cool hat. On the instructions of Joyce and Beckett, Mr. Crome went to Dublin's finest tattoo parlour to get Eamon de Valera splattered across his back.
Hello. Will you do a tattoo of that man on my back, please?
Ouch! 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 Ow! Ouch! That's Alan Rickman. He was in Robin Hood. Not De Valera.
Fucking knew there was something.
That was sore, man.
Go away. Go away, boys. Come back to us when you've it sorted out.
To get it
Come on, we
fixed,
have to. Come on.
Those lads, though, they'll never understand that the revolution was a working class revolution. All you hear in the history books is the poet, the painter, the teacher, the lawyer. No working class men. That's a post-De Valera narrative that's been sold to us.
So imagine, right, you're planning this giant rave, right?
Yeah.
So you've got, like, the best warehouse.
Yeah.
You're going to have all your favourite drugs. You're going to have security, loads of beers, all your favourite tapes of music. The lot.
Cox and Judge
Carl
Jules.
Cox, Judge Jules, the lot, right?
Yeah,
It's an amazing rave, right?
Cool. Sounds good, man. I'm there.
Plan for next Monday, eh?
See you there, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then, the drugs don't come through, the girls don't come through, the security doesn't come through, nothing comes through, and it's just a load of lads in a warehouse.
Man, that sounds awful.
That was the Rising. That's what happened with the Rising. The leaders of 1916 decided to plan a rising while the British were distracted by the bloodiest war the world had ever seen.
Beautiful day. No Jerry's. I don't see any Jerry's. What a wonderful day. Swine! I am murdered.
Limerick, May 1915, 1 year before the Rising. Padraig Pearson, 500 volunteers get off the train to march on Limerick. In an attempt to gain support, they were met with massive hostility from the population, which is kind of understandable. Imagine 500 lads in Dublin jerseys marching today, except they have guns.
In Limerick, trains are called going machines. So you're telling me the heroes of 1916 were ran out of Limerick?
Yeah, by women.
Women?
Yeah, sure, all their husbands were off fighting for the British in World War I. They viewed Pearson and the boys as being pro-German.
Go back to Dublin. We don't want you. Piss off back up, you junkie. Get yourself a worldly burger. Sexy bastard. Go away. You're like a sexy Kermit the Frog, I can see. You're no. Days here. Piss off back. You're wearing the holy picture. Your gorgeous uniform. Go way out of it. Lap the green off you.
The Rising had been set for Easter Sunday 1916. A very important man in the planning of this was Sir Roger Casement. Casement was an Irishman of very high standing amongst the Brits. He used his connections to clandestinely meet with the Germans in the hope that they'd help the Rising out. He'd organised for 20,000 rifles to be sent to Ireland on a ship, while he himself escaped on a U-boat. But when he arrived into Kerry after getting off the submarine, British forces were tracking him and he was eventually captured in a ring fort. They subsequently tried and executed him, but not before publicly disgracing him, all because he was gay. Then the lads who went to pick up the guns from the ship crashed.
So you put in the petrol?
Yeah.
Topped up there in the tyres?
Yeah.
Did you get the brake fluid?
The orange stuff?
Yeah.
I used Fanta instead.
What?
Meanwhile, the Odd, just a few yards from shore, was surrounded by Brits, so they were forced to sink the ship and lob the guns into the ocean.
Come on! Get out! Get out! The Brits are coming! You gotta get out of the ship! Man, I'm after coming all the way from Germany with the guns! I know, fuck the guns! Fuck the guns! The Brits are coming! Abandon ship!
The loss of all those guns caused a crisis and half the Irish leadership wanted to cancel the rising, so places like Cork, with 2,500 volunteers, received 9 different orders, each one contradicting the others, before eventually giving all their weapons to the Brits because a priest told them to.
Oh, hello, gentlemen. Oh, they're delightful. Oh, I love that. I'm gonna have
Most rebels were armed with shotguns, elephant guns, and even pikes, completely unsuitable for modern warfare. So when they went up against properly armed British soldiers, things like this would happen. The sinking of the Odd, losing all our weapons, the confusion, the lack of mobile phones. All of this turned what should have been a national revolt into a local one. We need to stretch our gorgeous ties now, but come back after the break and we'll cuddle you in a phone box.
44, 45, 46. Man, can I please stop counting clouds now?
No, keep going.
Why? Please, let me start, man. I have to go to the toilet.
Man, we're in a field. We're surrounded by toilets.
I have to use the one at home.
Why?
You know why.
Before the break, the President asked us to make the official documentary of 1916. We explained 800 years of Irish history, the famine, why the Rising almost never happened, and Mr. Crome had to get a tattoo of Eamon de Valera for James Joyce and Samuel Beckett. To keep him happy, he now has to change it.
Hi, Shine. Will you make him look like Robin Hood?
My skin and back. On the back of me. On the back of my body.
No, you said Alan Rickman was in Robin Hood. Well, here you go, Robin Hood.
That is the worst tattoo of Robin Hood I've ever seen in my life. You haven't listened to a word we've said. Change it into something relevant or we'll torture you.
Are you serious? These aren't free, man.
Come on, come on.
Owen McNeil. That's what has me up at night, is Owen McNeil. What? Owen McNeil, man. I know. You don't know about
Who's
he? McNeil cancelled the Rising.
Because it was raining.
Not because it was raining. He was all ready to command the volunteers and he called it off because the lads forged documents from Dublin Castle that said they were all going to be arrested. When McNeil found out that they were forgeries, he cancelled the Rising, so the revolution failed because Beckett...
Right.
Calm down, all right? Here now, cop on.
Do you know what?
What?
You never hit a man with glasses, yeah?
Stop!
Right.
When we were on the way to 1916, the President called to see how we were getting on. But so far, the whole history of Ireland was just us getting the jaws boxed off us by the Brits. We couldn't tell him that. How are you, President?
Hello, rubber bandits. How are you getting on with the show about the revolutions coming up to 1916, rubber bandits?
Oh, man, it's going to be so good. It's just going to be the most professional thing going. Oh, the whole country's going to be proud. Really, really proud.
Thanks very much. I just said I'd ring you anyway.
All right, so, OK. Love you. Fuck!
Did you just lie to the President?
Lords, as far as I can see, Irish Revolution has been nothing but fuck up after fuck up after fuck up. How are we supposed to give the President a tape full of fuck ups, like?
Do you know what we're going to do? We're going to tell the truth. Because if you tell the truth, you're never wrong.
Yeah.
And you know what else? You're a professional.
I'm a professional.
And I'm a professional.
We're both professionals.
And the two of us are going to go out there and we're going to do a professional job. We're going to get out there and be professional guys and do this for Ireland.
Now, unfortunately, our national broadcaster didn't have sufficient budget for us to reenact the Rising. But what we've done instead is come to our local Gamers Workshop, where we have accurately recreated the central business district of Dublin as it was on that morning in 1916 in Ireland. So at about 11:30 a.m, the first volunteers march up Abbey Street. Rebellion, rebellion. 12 o'clock, Pearse reads out the proclamation with Connolly and Clark behind him to a bemused Dublin public, some of whom were begrudging and saying things like,
"Here, give us me cuddle.
Goes back home, yous buggers."
Here, cop on.
In order to honour the heroes of the Rising, we went to O'Connell Street dressed as Pearse and the lads. Unfortunately, we got a couple of things mixed up and went as Black and Tans instead. And so here we are outside the General Post Office where it all kicked off in Easter Monday night. So it was here on Easter Monday 1916 that the great Padraig Pearse came out and he read the proclamation of the Irish Republic. The difference was he wasn't surrounded by attentive Italian students with camera phones. He was surrounded by the bemused and confused Dublin public who were just as confused as the British that were about to be attacked. And so I'm very happy to say as well, ladies and gentlemen, that I'm standing underneath the very columns that Michael Collins was named after.
I got you, man. I shot you ages ago.
I'm invincible.
I'm sick of this. You don't even know how to play guns.
Irishman, black and tan. Irishman, black and tan. Irishman, black and tan. We went to Dublin's Henry Street to find out what today's Irish citizen actually knows about the Rising. We're going to ask that just as soon as this man lets go of my hand. What did they teach you in school about the 1916 Rising?
I don't have a clue.
Who's Padraig Pearse?
I don't know.
Do you know who Padraig Pearse is?
No.
Do you know who Padraig Pearse is?
No.
Who is James Connolly?
I don't know.
Do you know who Roger Casement is?
No. Jim Larkin?
No.
De La Salle?
No.
Do you remember the 1916 Rising in school? Do you remember the 1916 Rising in school?
No.
Do you remember school?
Do you think if Kanye West was in the Rising, would he make it better or make it worse?
I think you make it better.
If you had a Kanye gig in the middle of that Rising, everyone would start popping yokes on both sides.
They should just do that in Syria now. Can we have chips now?
I know De Valera.
Do you, personally?
How
No,
is he?
no, but I
Is
know
he
who
well?
he is.
My uncle borrowed a lawnmower off him. But it was even worse on the south side, which you'll see as soon as he lets go of my hand. What happened in the GPO on that day?
Yeah, good music, kind of dancing in a big old ballroom.
What were the streets of Dublin like during the War of Independence?
What's the usual bands, like people having drinks, socialising, dancing,
Yeah.
kissing.
Who was Padraig Pearse?
Oh, he's a beautiful man. He was black, then he...
Yeah.
Yeah, and he stayed, you know. And he kind of had some problems with his face.
These people know fuck all, so let's get back to the revolution. The boys had stormed the GPO and they were just about to take down the flag. The butcher's apron is taken down and the tricolour is raised.
It's a good day for Ireland.
A great day for... Get it on properly, man, come on.
The GPO, centre of town, why is it most important?
The reason the GPO was so important is that that was where all the telecommunications happened from, you know what I mean? If you controlled the DPO in the context of World War I, it meant that Ireland could have legitimacy as like a breakaway state. So that was what they were trying to do, hold the GPO for as long as possible. Then, deployed around the GPO in a circular pattern of protection were Eamon De Valera holding it down here in Boland's Mill with a couple of boys. At Dublin Castle, we've got Captain Connolly of the Citizen Army. Nothing much happened there. Poor man was killed. At the Four Courts, we have Edward Daly. And then he sent a couple of lads up to the Jameson Distillery. At the Jacob's Cream Crackers Factory, we've got Thomas McDonough and John McBride. We've got Trinity College here. No, they didn't take Trinity College because there was a Polish security guard who was checking ID.
All right.
But one stronghold we did manage to take was the completely indefensible position of Stephen's Green with Countess Markovich and some flies. We're standing now at the entrance to St. Stephen's Green, one of the offensive positions set up by the volunteers on the day of the Rising. Of course, today stands here at the entrance the statue of the great Wolfe Tone, co-founder of the United Irishmen, and a man committed to forming an Irish identity that transcended sectarianism.
So conflicted was Wolfe Tone by his Catholic ideas and his Protestant upbringing that his head began to grow ever further away from his feet, resulting in one of the longest torsos in Ireland.
Hauling up in Stephen's Green may have seemed a good idea, but it turned out to be silly, as the green was surrounded by tall buildings soon to be filled with British machine gunners. You see him?
Yeah.
That's the Shelburne Hotel, right?
Yeah.
No, the volunteers were inside there in the park, right?
And then the Brits went up into the Shelburne.
They could shoot down from the Shettlebourne. If you're down in a trench, you can't shoot up at the Shettlebourne.
You know, because the boys are in the Shelburne.
Why didn't they settle it? Like,
they could have burnt it as well.
I would have either shettled it or I would have burnt it to the ground.
You weren't there, buddy.
If I was, like...
If you were there, you would have ran scared.
I wouldn't.
You would, yeah?
I wouldn't.
Go and walk into the Shettlebourne now. So you're still checking, you won't even do it. You'll walk away, go mind him.
He's so cowardly, he'd jump into his own grave to hide from death.
Pigeon, pigeon. Land duck. Poo, pigeon, woo.
This is the only historical reenactment we could afford, but it's an interesting one nonetheless. When the fighting broke out in St. Stephen's Green, there was an actual ceasefire so that the warden could come and feed the ducks. We didn't have ducks either, so but it's pigeons, you know, you get the gist of it, come on.
Pigeon. Ah, no, he's here.
Who?
The salmon and knowledge's brother.
He's not, is he?
He is. It's the trout of no crack.
You serious? You're doing a documentary and you haven't called me. You've got my mobile number, my email. Lads, you've got my Snapchat and you didn't call me. Everything I know about Irish Patriots. Well, anyway, first question. Who's organising the party? Hopefully me, because you know I'm the best at it. I'm friends with Colin Farrell. I'm friends with Cormac from California. Lads, I'm friends with Ray Shaw. So come along to my party. I'll organise the rap. I'll start the ketamine. I'll start the speed. Don't worry, guys. I'll sort the weed.
I don't want him involved.
Boys, anyway,
Man, he's in a bad way. He's vulnerable, all right? So if he's vulnerable, get Brizzy to help him. Brizzy's running to Galway for ball cancer, so just be sound and help him. All right, buddy, of course.
Crystal, make them
Yeah, not a bother, man. Come on.
Where is he?
I don't know, man. I can't see him. Like, he texted me to meet him here.
Boys, I've been up on Wikipedia all night. I've taken you here to Ballsbridge, where the troops marched past the RDS to the Dublin people applauding them as appropriate, and that's what I think. Fair play to the British soldiers.
Hang on a minute, man. Whoa. Let us interrupt you there for 1 second, right?
I'll hear no more about it. Crack open a harp, we'll have a good evening, some lunchtime harp, and start sucking bows.
First of all, thank you for the cans.
Yeah.
Secondly, you're being very disrespectful to the lads in the GPO, I have to say. And another thing, those Irish people outside the RDS applauding British soldiers as they march towards the GPO, that's not cool at all.
Punish that paddy who's dragging the name of Ireland through the mud.
We are from Dublin, but we are British, and they are disrespecting our beautiful dominion. Go and kill Padya.
That's not cool at all. Like, where are you even from?
Well, I'm from Alaska.
Well, fuck off back to Alaska, so.
All right, so I didn't want to hang around with you anyway. You go.
I'm going to wash out your mouth.
Oh, yeah, you sort of losers. You're nothing but Jedward with plastic bags in your heads anyway.
Those British soldiers marching past the RDS were just one small part of a massive army heading to crush the rebellion.
20,000 British soldiers led by the six-titted lizard witch, Brigadier General Law. As the fighting broke out, the British basically encircled the circle that the volunteers had put in.
Boys, British boys.
Volunteers couldn't actually communicate with each other either.
They could have supplies
no
as
supplies,
well and everything.
Nothing like that.
So they were trapped. The boys were trapped in the middle.
Trapped in the middle, like.
Despite the overwhelming odds of a tiny band of rebels up against the full might of an empire, there were some Irish military successes.
We are here at the Battle of Mount Street Bridge, where a young 27-year-old carpenter called Mick Malone led 17. A young carpenter of 27 years of age called Mick Malone and 17 other volunteers managed to kill 240 British soldiers in that direction, who kept marching over the bridge, led by some fool with a sword who didn't care about them.
Go on, go out into the middle of the road, you'll be grand.
Boys, why are you doing this, man?
What I'm doing is I'm trying to illustrate the stupidity of British military tactics circa 1916 in a modern context.
He's going to get hurt, man. What are you doing, like?
It's grand. Now, what we have here is our Sherwood Forrester, a young British soldier, marching towards his...
That's Aaron. He's from Colac.
It's not. He's a British soldier right now, OK? So he's marching towards his death, surrounded by Volkswagens and Puntos, illustrating the hegemony and the stupidity of British military tactics.
He's going to get a belt of a Punto.
Hopefully he will get a belt, because that's how silly the boys were at the time. Just a scimitar in hand. He doesn't care about any... Oh, man, I hope he doesn't get hit,
Don't get a belt, man.
But Irish successes were few and far between, especially when the Brits got their shit together. So about 3 days in on the Wednesday, that's when stuff goes really bad. You've got a ship coming up called the Helga. Now, this is a converted warship. It wastes a few shells on Liberty Hall, doesn't do much, but then it starts blasting all the way onto the GPO. Abbey Street is destroyed. Starts baiting away at the centre of Dublin. They stay in there, still fighting, even though the roof is on fire.
Mad bastards.
Mad bastards. On the Friday, the GPO is nearly completely engulfed in flames, so the volunteers make the decision that they need to get out. The streets of Dublin at that time are littered with bodies. The volunteers try and run out Henry Street, but then good old Nelson's Column is in the middle. Nelson's Column, for so long a symbol of imperial domination, turned out to be something completely different altogether. The thing is, this used to be called Nelson's Column, right? And it was named after Admiral Nelson. He was a bastard. And it used to be pure tick. But on the last day of 1916, the Rising, on the 6th day, the volunteers escaped down Henry Street and ran that direction. But the Brits were waiting over there with guns trying to shoot. Nelson's Column was so big, they couldn't actually hit. So then the RA blew it up in the 60s, and then they threw this spire up then instead then in around 2000 to represent the prosperity of Ireland or something like that.
This used to be straight when they built it, right? Straight as narrow. But I'm
straight.
after noticing now, this is after getting awful crooked.
It is actually, isn't it?
See?
Pure crooked at the top.
Very crooked, yeah.
Yeah.
It's as crooked as those men that inherited this country, huh? Satire.
Satire, man.
Can we put that in the show?
100,
That's
by course
satire,
you can, man.
isn't it?
100.
Yeah.
You get tax exempt for satire.
That's very satire now. I'm happy with that.
This is the statue of the great emancipator of Catholics, Daniel O'Connell, from which O'Connell Street is named after.
Yeah.
Now, what the Brits did during the 1916 Rising, being the lovely fellas that they did, is they situated themselves in Temple Bar and they tested their rifles on his statue. And there's around the side, if you go, there's a lady there with bullet holes in her tits. In one of them, so put straight down the nipple. Great lads.
My ma has one of his tapes in the boot of the car.
Man, it's an awful shame all that pigeon shit over poor old Daniel O'Connell.
After all the good he done.
He done like so much emancipated, like Irish Catholics. Like,
Disrespectful, Boris. Hey, who's this goose?
He's not a ghost. That's Jim Larkin, one of the greatest socialists this country has ever seen and leader of the 1913 lockouts. And what they did to honour great Jim the socialist was to build totems of capitalism. McDonald's, Burger King and Starbucks right in front of his statue. Oh, you'd love that, Big Jim, wouldn't you? Great country. But no one cares about him because he was a lefty. Back to 1916. So as the volunteers are evacuating the GPO up Henry Street, you've got the brave Michael O'Rahilly leading a charge of 30 men to British machine guns. 21 of those men are killed in blood sacrifice to allow the volunteers to escape up Moore Street.
That's it then, they ran away and lived to fight another day? Grand. No.
The 7 signatories with a load of volunteers, when they ran up Moore Street, that's when they saw the amount of British that were facing them. That's also the first time they left the GPO and realised the scale of the casualties around them. It was at that point that they started to think about their terms of surrender and what they could do. Now, the British will only accept unconditional surrender. That was that they were forcing on them. So at that point, the boys start to think, all right, so if we unconditionally surrender, they'll execute us, but they'll let our lads live. Do you know? Legends. In total, around 3,500 people were arrested for taking part in the Rising. A few weeks later, 16 men were executed by British Rifle Squad in Kilmainham Jail. As an act of revenge, the executioners were the same Sherwood Foresters who had been humiliated during the Battle of Mount Street. Among the condemned were the 7 signatories of the proclamation. One by one, they were taken down. Pearse, McDonough, Clark, Plunkett, Kent, Connolly and McDiarmid. An injured James Connolly was shot while tied to a chair, while poor old Tom Clark was stripped naked and tortured in front of women. Casement for his involvement was taken to England and hung for treason. De Valera wasn't executed because he was an American citizen.
Do you know the way I have a tattoo of Eamon De Valera on my back?
Yeah?
What did Eamon De Valera actually do during the Rising?
Do you ever do loads of speed?
Yes.
Like loads of speed?
Go on.
That's kind of like what he did during the Rising. Like, he didn't take speed, like, but he was up in Boland's Mill, yeah?
Yeah.
Like, he didn't sleep for 2 days.
Yeah.
He refused to let any women near his quarters.
Speed Mickey.
Speed Mickey.
Yeah.
And then, like, he gave out a load of orders and countermanded them, you know, contradicted his own orders. Like, he was just like a man on speed.
And so why did they make him president?
David's a hero.
Yeah.
You're not saying he's not.
No. I mean, like, he fought for independence. That's what heroes are.
He's definitely a hero.
Hero.
Absolutely.
Hero. I will try harder. Both of us will try harder. Okay, I love you. Man, Michael Diggins isn't happy at all.
No?
No. Man, the documentary is garbage. Irish history is rubbish. Rubbish plus garbage equals raw mesh.
Raw mesh, exactly, man. Broadskull is all it is.
Broadskull.
How does he know, though?
Man, the Irish Air Force has been spying on us the whole time.
Sneaky bastards!
Michael Diggins wasn't happy because The Rising was a failure and our documentary was making Ireland's heroes look like losers. Crome got one last tattoo to see if Ireland's smartest men could help us out.
Boys?
Well, we've had a long day. This is the last tattoo. Michael D's not happy. All right.
Yeah. Well done. I think I love that tattoo. That tattoo of Che Guevara is gorgeous. Proof that you now understand the revolution.
Really? Really? Maybe we can ride George's Alpa. Well, I will and you can watch.
I'll
watch.
Unreal, boys, but we thought 1916 was a failure.
It was a failure, but it was a beautiful failure. And it was our beautiful failure. So go out there, go out into the world and explore the beautiful failure of 1916 and how it inspired the people of Ireland.
Beautiful failure!
Didn't it?
So cool,
Inspired us all.
So cool.
The executions of these 16 ordinary men, these men who read out a document that asked for nothing but freedom and equality, inspired huge sympathy across the country. It awoke passionate republicanism and a desire to be free from Britain. In 1918, the War of Independence began. The IRA, led by Michael Collins, had learned from the mistakes of the Rising. They didn't try and fight the British Army on its own terms. Instead, they began a guerrilla war, and in retaliation, the British unleashed the auxiliaries and the vicious Black and Tans. Now, being in the IRA wasn't all flares, orgies and funny accents. During the War of Independence, the volunteers were organised into flying columns. We used to hang around woods, waiting for tans to shoot.
It's nothing but nettles.
Oh, yeah, it's the wind that shakes the nettles.
Isn't it, does?
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I ate yesterday?
What?
Do you know what I had for dinner?
What?
A yard of bark.
My boat is stacked.
Man, you're weighing me down, do you know that? You're like a fanny pack full of stones.
Yeah, well, you're a baby.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, you suck the suitor.
Yeah?
You suck that, kiss
Yeah,
it. Yeah, suck my tits.
What's that?
Black and tans.
How?
Black and tans are down there.
Is that their fur?
It is, yeah. Where are they? Over there, lad, the Black and Tans.
Why are you talking like that?
It's a Cork accent. They all had Cork accents.
What if you were from Galway or Meath or something?
Then you had to have a Cork accent to get into the IRA.
Did they check?
Yeah, Michael Collins used to check all of them. Shut up, go down and beat them with your stick.
No, you've got a gun, shoot them.
We've got 2 guns between the entire column and 3 bullets. Do you want freedom for Ireland?
Yes, I want freedom, but what if they torture me?
If they torture you, I'll promise you I'll shoot you into the head. Go down and get the fucking Tans.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, don't do it.
Yeah.
And those nettles. Those nettles. Boy, those nettles. Come here and I get you. I'll get you in my stick. Ah, fuck, man, they're heavy. They're torturing me. Don't be in the money.
I can't.
Don't be.
I can't do it.
Why?
I love you.
Don't be.
I can't do it. I'm in love with you.
Don't be.
And that is exactly what happened during the War of Independence. Now, while the rest of the country was fighting for freedom, Limerick was being a pack of awkward bollockses. In 1919, during the War of Independence, we decided to have a proper revolution by declaring the Limerick Soviet. This made the city a tiny socialist enclave. The unions controlled production and we even printed our own money. Limerick was under military lockdown and the unions were on strike. This made it nearly impossible to get food into the place, so spuds were smuggled in coffins.
Man, why did it put a fella in with the potatoes?
They needed a man in to mind the spuds. You have to mind the potatoes if you're in a coffin with them. You think...
Are you sure?
100%. I looked it up on Wikipedia, man.
You're not just making a fool
I'm not making it up. Read it on Wikipedia. Amateur. The Soviet lasted about 2 weeks and then the priest shut it down. The documentary was almost over, so we ran back to the field to tell you everything we know about the War of Independence and the Civil War. But not before we bothered some livestock. Up yours, society. So everything that happened after 1916 can be boiled down to this. The IRA was vastly outnumbered by the British war machine, so under visionary leaders like Tom Barry, they practiced asymmetrical warfare, or ambushes as it's better known. If they were around today, they'd be called terrorists. We won! But unfortunately, as soon as we did, we started fighting each other. And then there was nobody left, except De Valera and the priests. Now that we finally got our independence, Dev and the church made sure we didn't do anything silly with it. They even wrote our constitution for us, the document that's made Ireland the happy, prosperous, caring nation it is today. The proclamation the boys wrote in 1916 has nothing to do with today's Ireland, so we wrote a new one. Irish men and Irish women, we declare the right of the people of Ireland to the ownership of Ireland to be free from any outside control. We declare equality and freedom to all Irish citizens. We embrace our right to be justly governed by honest leaders who hold our best interests at heart. Our sick and poorly are free to have the best health care available. In light of our previous long history of emigration, we express our freedom to put ourselves in the shoes of others in that position too. We declare our absolute, God-given right as Irish people to solve all issues pertaining to mental health in the bottom of a pint glass. Shut up and eat your spuds. So it all ended happily ever after for Ireland. And best of all, when Michael Diggins saw the documentary, he wanted to give us medals.
I'm Michael D. Higgins, and the D is for dancing.
I know what boys like. I know what guys want. I know what boys like. I know what's on their mind. I know what boys like. I know.
Confirmation medals, the highest honour in Ireland. What a great day. I can't wait to show my fathers the photo of me with the president, Mickey D.H. So it all worked out in the end. The documentary was brilliant, and all of Ireland is proud of us. Who's there?
It's a present from Michael Diggins.
George Salpa. It's a pleasure to meet you. Well, that was Irish history. Have a good night. Well, that was Irish history. You have a good night.